Hello, in this video we're going to have a look at circumference. So circumference is just a fancy word for the perimeter around the outside edge of a circle. So as we know, perimeter is the length of the outside edge of a shape, but the circle, because it's special, it's got its own name for its perimeter, which is its circumference. So what we're going to do to work out the circumference of a circle is we're going to use a formula that contains this special number here called pi. So I'm going to show you what pi is first of all. So once upon a time there were some people and they were a little bored, so they were drawing some circles. So let's have a look at some circles just there. There's one. And what they did to start with, they said, right, okay, let's measure how far that circle is across. And it just so happened to be 1 meter across. And that measurement just there is called its diameter. Okay? So if its diameter is 1, they said, 1 meter, they then measured how far around the edge this circle was in meters, and it just so happened to be 3.14 meters long around the edge. And they called this its circumference. So we've got circumference, diameter, 3.14 compared to 1. So then what they did is they made a bigger circle that just so happened to be 2 meters across. So they said, right, if it's 2 meters across then, so its diameter is 2 meters, how far is it around the outside edge now? So they measured around the outside edge of this one and they got it to be 6.28 meters around the edge. So as you can see, if we were to compare this number with this number, it just happens to be every single time that this number and this number is 3.14 times bigger than its diameter. And that's all that our pi, our letter pi, symbolises. It symbolises this number here, and it just so means that whatever the diameter is, the circumference is 3.14 times bigger. So if I write up a formula that actually defines, we're left with that the circumference is always equal to 3.14 times whatever the diameter is, which is, let's call it d. So circumference is always equal to 3.14 times bigger than its diameter. Now because this number is so special, 3.14, they labelled it the Greek letter for P, which is pi, and it looks like that. Circumference is pi times diameter. And if you want to write it even shorter, if you write letters next to letters in a formula, it means times, so you don't need your times in there. So this is the formula for the circumference of a circle, and it defines really what pi is. It's just the ratio of the size of the diameter compared to the size of the circumference. Circumference is always 3.14 times bigger than the diameter. So that's an introduction to what pi is, which means we've got a relatively simple formula here to use to work out the circumference of a circle. So let's just have a go at a couple of examples. So let's say we have a circle. It's not a circle. Well, let's say we had a circle, and the measurement across the centre was the diameter. And we have the diameter at 3 meters. And we want to know what the circumference is. So we want to know what the circumference is. We know that the circumference is pi times the diameter. Now we know that pi is always 3.14. It's always 3.14. Okay, it's just a number, which is where most people get confused. They see pi as something that's really confusing, something that's really variable, that changes, and they don't understand what it is. It's just a number. It's 3.14. It just means that the circumference around the edge of a circle is always 3.14 times bigger than the diameter. So we know what pi is. It's 3.14. And the diameter in this example is 3 meters. So we can replace the d with a 3. So all we're left with is a simple 3.14 multiplied by 3. So what I've got left to do, if you've not got a calculator, if you're not doing a functional skills test, if you're doing a key skill test, or if you want to do it on paper, I'm just going to do a quick 3.14 multiplied by 3 using the grid method that you can see in another earlier video. So it's a 3-digit number by a 1-digit number. So I'm going to do 314 times 3. I'm going to put my diagonal lines in there. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. And 3 lots of 3, that's 9. Okay. And I'm going to add down my diagonal lines, which is going to give me 2. It's going to give me 4. And that's going to give me 9. And I'm going to put in my decimal place as many as I've forgotten about in the question, which is 2. So I'm going to pop my decimal place in 2 just there, and that leaves me with a circumference of 9.42, and the measurement we were using earlier was meters. There we go. So that's the circumference, the distance around the outside edge of that circle, just there, like that, is 9.42 meters. So we'll have one more example while we're on there, while we're on the subject. So circumference around, let's have a circle that's a little bit bigger. So let's say we've got a circle like that, and let's say the diameter across the middle is 5 meters. And we want to know what the circumference is. Now we know that circumference is equal to pi times the diameter, and we know that pi is always 3.14. Now we have all the numbers we need to work out the circumference. So the circumference is equal to pi, which is 3.14, times the diameter, which is 5 meters. So we want 5 times 3.14. Quickly do that down here. There's my grid, 3.14 times 5. So we ignore the decimal at this point. 5 times 4 is 20. 1 5 is 5. 3 5s are 15. Add down the diagonal lines. 0, 7, 5 and 1. And I'm going to put in 2 decimal places because that's how many were in my question. And I'm left with an answer which is 15.70 meters. And that is the circumference of this circle, which is the length all the way around the edge of the circle, just there.